go right ahead.
All right, Gene,
But I think
you're fired.
Yes.
Michael,
Yes, sir.
you're fired.
You could now be at serious risk of losing your job, even if you're not part of DOJ's direct firings of all of these federal government employees. Yes, you could be in danger, even if you're among the 7 in 10 Americans with a private sector job. I'll talk about the ripple effect, the risk, and finally, you'll want to stick around for the video conclusion because I have a solution for what you can actually do about it so that you'll never have to worry about losing your job again for the rest of your life. Hi, I'm Keith Weinhold, Get Rich Education founder, Forbes Real Estate Council member, best-selling author, and longtime real estate investor. Tens of thousands of federal workers have already gotten the boot. It goes beyond Washington, D.C. Most federal jobs are outside D.C. It could easily balloon to hundreds of thousands of federal jobs alone that are lost. And look, people don't realize that pales in comparison to the number of private employees who are subsidized by government contracts and federal dollars. We could lose 10 times as many private sector jobs due to these federal cuts as we do federal jobs. We are already looking at headcount cuts, layoffs, firings from the Departments of Agriculture, Department of Education, Department of Energy, Department of Homeland Security, the IRS, EPA, CFPB, the Department of Defense, the Department of the Interior, including the National Park Service, and more. And more firings are coming. But yet, federal jobs, they have long been deemed as the most secure. So what does this say about you and the safety of your job? Hundreds of thousands of federal employee layoffs, that can lead to the firings of potentially millions of government contractors. From there, it would not be a big leap to assume that all of these layoffs would lead to private companies having to reduce their headcount to protect themselves from the cascading effects from less consumer demand. And sadly, this is not such a rare occurrence. Many sources cite that roughly 40% of Americans get fired at least once during their working life. And I didn't know that before. I found that figure through research. I actually thought it would be greater than 40%. Job loss is more likely for a man than a woman. And it's happened to me. Yep, I've taken that awkward box of desk stuff walk. Well, you must add a second source of income. Experian and Fed data cite that the average consumer debt is about $39,000 of student loan debt, plus $24,000 of auto loan debt, plus $6,500 of credit card debt. And many job losers are going to decline into a financial tailspin. This means that they'll first default on their payments, then become delinquent, next descend into bankruptcy, and finally have a destroyed credit score. So even when they financially recover, they'll still be impacted years into the future. And before I talk about how you can help yourself from getting into this situation at all, go ahead and put a like on the video if you like how I'm breaking it down. I really appreciate the like. If you only have one income source, then you've got to do something to get your money strategy right over the long term. Because look, I can't predict whether or not you will personally lose your job, but see, throughout your life, the mere threat of losing your job looming over you is not pleasant. The threat in itself can cause everything from sleeplessness to marital stress. So what should you really do? Well, most of the so-called financial advice out there targets budgeting, how to cut your expenses. You can do that, but it's not the best approach. If you lose your job, a bundled cell phone plan and ditching your $7 latte is hardly going to help. Maybe you think that a promotion and a raise at work, that's a more permanent solution. No, it's not. At least that's better. But rather than cutting your expenses, Increasing your income like this gives you a better lifestyle than reducing your expenses. But see, even with a promotion and a raise at work, it still only pads a dangerous single source. It's still just one equally vulnerable single source. So instead, what's powerful is increasing your income outside of your day job. That is income diversification. All right, but how should you do that? You could take on a part-time job or freelance work, but then if you pursue that avenue, you've lost your irreplenishable time. You're never going to get that back. Well, don't live below your means. Grow your means. What can solve the problem is owning an income property, even one low-cost one of, say, $200,000. And our free investment coaches here at GRE Marketplace help you find the right ones all day long. Okay, well, how would that really look for you? Well, though it might start out with just, say, $100 to $300 per month of residual cash flow, which, by the way, is rent income exceeding the property expenses, this amount tends to rise faster than inflation because your mortgage payment stays fixed. And additionally, in just 5 years, your $200K property at 5% appreciation compounded grows to $255K. So your 20% down payment of $40K, that grows to over $100K because of both appreciation and the fact that the tenant is paying down the loan for you. There's more. Besides increasing your monthly income, you can often take a chunk of this $100K equity with a cash out refinance. This is a tax-free windfall event. And yeah, you heard that part right, tax-free. And all of this that I'm talking about is just an example of starting with one low-cost property. The smallest case study that there practically is. And though I feel that the income property strategy is the best one, well, amidst job losses, what if your tenant loses their job, though? There is that angle. Or how are they going to pay you your rent? Well, what happened to that second source of income then? Well, of course, that's always the risk, but you've diversified your income source. You've now got yours plus theirs, or however many tenants you get, and you can get an eviction for a non-paying tenant. And our free investment coaches at GRE Marketplace, they recommend states, usually in the Midwest and South, that often have strong landlord and tenant laws that favor housing providers like you so that you can get a prompt eviction. And even if your unit is vacant for a time, you would still get that leveraged appreciation that you can often borrow against totally tax-free. See, the IRS doesn't tax debt. One thing's for sure, you want to get pre-approved for a loan for income property now, because when you lose your job, no mortgage underwriter is going to qualify you when you're unemployed. So relying on one income source is like playing Jenga on a wobbly-legged table. So the bottom line here is that new widespread federal job firings have brought to light how many people are vulnerable with just one income source, and owning investment property solves the problem. You can't have just one income stream. That's too close to zero. So plant that second income seed now. Now, if it would be your first rental property, how do you buy one? Simple, step-by-step, qualifying for a loan, making an offer, inspection, appraisal, and more. I break that down clearly in this video for you right here.